This is a little funny story in Appalachia of a group of people visiting a church on a Sunday afternoon in southeast Kentucky, not knowing that they handle snakes during the service. Now, first I'd like to say is snake handling's been going on in these southern Appalachians for a long time, decades if not over 100 years. And this is a serious business to some little churches. But I'm not condoning it, and I'm not disapproving of it, and it doesn't really matter. They have a right to what they believe in, and they always have in these mountains, and that's the way they practice. Now, that being said, I'd just like to remind y'all that the pictures you see in these little stories that I tell are not the actual people, are not the actual events. They're just pictures of old times past to tell the story. Now, this story was told to me by my uncles and one of his good friends that experienced it back in the 50s. And my uncle, he liked to just sit around with his friends. He'd sit on the porch. They'd just shoot the bull all day long, telling stories of what's happened to them in time gone by. And one of his good friends here told a story about his family and friends, what they used to do once upon a time. They would visit churches, and on Sunday afternoon they would go to baptizing and visit other churches on Sunday evening, a group of them just in the area, especially when some new preacher come in the area. So they loaded up one afternoon, thought they'd all check out a new preacher that come into the church. There was probably 2 carloads of them, probably, I don't know, 8 to 10 people the way they talked. And they visited this little church, don't know where it's at. All I know is just said it was in southeast Kentucky, back in one of these mountain hollers somewhere. And they drove up to this little old church here, back in the middle of nowhere. And there's a pretty good crowd of people there. Once it's a new preacher, people wanted to check out the church, see what it's like, see how the preacher was. And they got inside here, and there's a pretty good crowd of people. Everybody was nice, shaking hands, even introduced herself to the preacher and everybody around. So they was all having a good time there as the service started. And everything was going just fine, having some good singing, some good preaching out of the Bible. Everything was going just fine. They was having a good time. And then somebody in the service carried in a box here, 2 guys, and they set it down on the floor. And when they opened it up, here's what was in it. That stunned a few. And these just wasn't regular snakes. These were poisonous snakes. Rattlesnakes, copperheads. Didn't like that at all. And they started pulling them out of that box and started handling them while they was singing and dancing around. And that kind of opened people's eyes. The guy told me his friend's wife eyes got as big as saucers. He started handling them snakes, putting around his neck and everything else. And then they started passing around in the crowd. Down in the front pews, they was glad they was sitting in the back. They was getting nervous by the minute. And they sitting there, and one of them pointed out in the group that there was a snake out on the floor, slithering around there towards the pews. That made them real nervous, the visitors. And all of a sudden, he pinched his wife on the leg, and she thought sure she got bit. She jumped up and screamed. Well, everybody else was nervous, so they all screamed too. Thought one of them got snake bit. And they was really panicking then. The visitors, they headed towards the door, and they got out of there as fast as they could get out. They didn't know what to think. It scared them to death. One thing led to another. They was running for the vehicles just as fast as they could get to them. And they spun out of there as fast as they could get them vehicles. started up and get out of there. They were really panicking. Oh, they didn't expect none of that. So that place, they left it in a hurry, never to return to that place. They had no ideal. They loved the Word of God, but they don't care nothing about the snake part of it. Now, my uncles, they got a big kick out of that one. I thought I'd just share that story with you, but I couldn't help but ask my uncles. I said, well, why did he pinch her on the leg? Because he said that was just the way he was. He knowed that she hated them snakes, was scared to death of them, and he done that just to pester her. I said, well, I'd hate to be him when he got home. Well, yeah, they said, yeah, I would too, but that was just the way he was. Well, anyway, hope you enjoyed this little story. Like I said, this snake handling has been going on in these mountains for many a years. And I'm not trying to put down anybody. That's their right and their religion. This is just a little story that I thought I'd share with you about a group of people visiting a church and by mistake not knowing that they handled snakes during the service. So, hope y'all enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.